Last time on this strange campaign.
Our party ventured deep under the holy house, accompanied by Alan, the grizzled human priest. What they found deep in the crypts was anything but holy, as they fought off shrouded figures, their minion grimlocks, and a malicious dark mantle, only to discover evidence of a mysterious cult taking root beneath the church. Maximon received an indecipherable black tome, written in some unidentified script, as well as a cloak blacker than the darkest night and imbued with magical properties. Venturing deeper within the crypts led the party to an obsidian cavern where some strange orb of shifting hues was discovered. Cal and Belwyn seemed wary of the malignant darkness of this place and of this orb, but Maximon, ever swayed by the macabre thrill of the unknown, took the orb in his possession, and upon taking it, felt some kind of psychic attachment to the fate of this orb. Though Maximon found many trinkets and treasures within the cursed crevices of the crypts, it was answers that Belwyn sought, and further questions he found. Sight of the dark tapestries adorning the obsidian cavern gave Belwyn flashbacks to long ago before his slumber, to chaos and fear, and the threat of an apparent invasion of shrouded figures at the shores of Belwyn's holy temple. Staring into the darkest depths of this world for the first time, Cal's resolve was tested, and though he was stricken by fear at first sight of the horrors of the deep, his resolve was made strong by a glimpse of something deeper within himself that he had been told all his life to resent and repress. All of our heroes found something deep within the crypts. Now we shall see what they do with what they bring out into the light. All right, I'm gonna roll that. I'm gonna roll that plot point. See who's got the juicy beats this time.
Okay,
Oh, Cal!
Ooh,
Lucky
okay.
you! You found yourselves pulling your way out of this catacomb. You emerge into the cemetery churchyard through what's essentially a false floor in the bottom of a sarcophagus. And this is how you've discovered these figures, these robed figures have been slipping in and out of this space, you think. Now you're all out, and you're all out in the light of day. Your eyes have adjusted to the brightness of what is essentially a normal midday sun, but in the depths you had no real gauge of telling time of day or how long you were down there. But you found that, in fact, it's only actually been a handful of hours. Alan is insisting that the party meets with Feliadril. He seems very much so different. His demeanor has changed from the sort of the stern but stoic and solid, the calm and level-headedness that he had before heading into the crypt. And now you see before you a look of anxiety and a look of unsuredness with what to do next. But he seems desperate to find Feliadril and discuss the matters. He says, we have to find Feliadril, and we must go to the Lord Mayor with this. There's grave consequences, and the whole town is at stake with what we found deep in those catacombs. We must get Feliadril and head to the Lord Mayor's estate. He urges you to go into the back of the church, and there you find Feliadril, who is still at prayer, but right by the basin that you entered in. It's still open, and he's still at his knees staring down into the opening, but he's suddenly startled by your presence. Oh, how did you, I almost thought that you would never come back. Where did you come from?
There is no time to explain, boy. Great darkness lies below. We must warn the town folk that danger is afoot.
Then we must go to the Lord Mayor's estate. Follow me. And he hurriedly gets to his feet and heads to the front door. And you go out the front door of the town and back down to the main street, where you take a left to the main street, and then you see before you a large and long row of exquisitely white and pink trees, framing at the very end of it quite a majestic looking estate house. But just before you can set off down that path, you see down from the other end of the town towards where the tavern was, you see running down the road towards you a short and squat but quite muscled and heavily armored dwarf. you recognize him as Hosh, the captain of the guard, and he's huffing and gruffing under the weight of his armor as he runs to catch up with you. He's waving his arms, attempting to get your attention, and it takes him quite a few leaps and bounds before he's finally caught up to you. But when he is, he's nearly completely out of breath. He goes, "Oh, I'm so glad I found you. We've learned much since I spoke to you last night about the explosion, about this elven woman. What? Where did you get off to? Alan, fellow Israel, it's good to see you. Oh,
Can I roll performance for a salute?
yeah.
I got a 1.
So Cal hadn't noticed up until this point, but when he climbed out of the ladder, a portion of his pants had gotten caught at the very end on a wooden splinter at the end of the ladder that they were climbing up to get out of the caverns. And in the very instant that his hand springs to his forehead, something gives way in the structural integrity of his pants, and they drop immediately to his knees. In Manorhad, they aren't fond of the confines and the chafing of underwear. And so Cal finds himself suddenly and humiliatingly buck-ass nude in front of the captain of the guard that he so much looks up to.
How impressed is the captain though? And maybe it's an embarrassing moment, but is he like, I mean, whoa, good for Cal.
Roll
Dude, are you telling me? Wait. Are you telling me to
Roll
for like package size? Is that what's
roll
happening?
athletics. Yeah, roll athletics.
Yeah, roll a d12
Or,
for.
or roll deception.
A D12.
Oh man, I feel wow. I didn't realize Cal was gonna be sexualized to this extent.
I've seen the images you've shared for Cal.
Hey! They've been northern men with
Sweaty and beefy and.
I don't know if I need to roll package size for Cal. I think he can.
Cal just embarrassingly red in the face reaches down and pulls his pants up and just totally acts like what happened just didn't happen at all. And everyone seems very, very ready to just pretend that did not happen and possibly never speak about it ever again.
Belwyn actually thinks now that that's like how
humans say it.
how that's like a human salute, because he's still not familiar with culture in the modern age, but he now thinks that like the drop of the pants is part of the salute. He just definitely like takes note that like your pants fall when you salute people. He doesn't feel the need to do it, but he just, he takes note.
He doesn't wear pants. He's a turtle. Actually, I don't know if that's canon or not.
I don't remember that art.
Tosh awkwardly sort of taps you on the shoulder and he goes, I understand the excitement and motivation, and it might have been a little chilly
You
out this
understand the
morning,
excitement?
but he seems eager to get
Small
this
dwarf.
conversation
Small
back.
dwarf. You are the captain of the guard here, yes?
Yes, and what I've been
Great
trying to tell you.
great darkness lies below your city. We must warn the highest of authorities to assemble your legions to fight against the darkness that lies below.
Legions? You're looking at our legions. We've got a small handful of city guardsmen. We're not many. I'm heading to the Lord Mayor's now as we speak to discuss what my boys have found at that tavern. It seems that it was in fact caused by some kind of device.
Does your town hold an ancient blade that can slay darkness in the heart of this town? Do you wield a weapon to shield your town from darkness?
I've got a battle axe that I trust with my life.
She's never done me wrong, and she's always had my back. If anything comes for me, she'll be the first thing to meet them. But for the time being, we've got to get to the Lord Mayor. We've got. It seems that you've got things that need to be said. I've got things that need to be said. This elven woman has seemed to have slipped our grasp. No one can find her in town. And now I'm hearing from the stable boy. He says that he spoke to an elven woman who bought a horse, and my boys have found horse tracks leading out of town. So we've got a real situation. We potentially got a fugitive on our hands, and we need to get some sort of task force together to go after this person. She's a suspect. I've got dead bodies.
Alan, worrisomely, looking around, looking quite nervous, he just huddles the group together and continues to push you towards the row of trees that lead down to the estate house where the Lord Mayor resides. Walking down this path, you notice it's a beautiful, scenic path. It's a gravel road, but it's littered with the pink and white flowers of these majestic and sort of effervescent trees that shade the light around you, hues of white and pink as you go down, as sunlight goes through the rows and through the different leaves of the trees that whistle and shimmer in the wind. As you approach the estate house, an elven door guard, a young man from the looks of it, a young elven male, this moves to stop you. But Hosh, coming out from behind the row of the party, he's quite short and he was blocked a little bit by the taller members. Hosh coming around, seeing the captain of his guard, he very quickly goes fully into a salute that looks nothing like what Cal has attempted in any way at this point, and then quickly moves aside to open the doors into what is a vibrant interior courtyard with lush vines and greenery hanging off of a second-story balcony that wraps around this interior courtyard. The sky gives way to a beautiful vista, and in the center is a babbling marble fountain with a statue in the middle of what looks to be an elven woman. Hosh yells, "Yorsi! Yorsi, where's Yorsi?" And coming from another room off to the corner runs a little halfling boy coming down, or at least he seems to be a boy, but looking further, you actually see that he seems to actually be a full-grown man, but he's only about 3 feet tall. But he comes running, and he's in silken finery, and he says, "Captain, Yorsi, go fetch the Lord Mayor. We need to have a discussion. And it seems that my friends here and Alan and Feliadril, they also need to see the Lord Mayor." And just as quick as he came around the corner, Yorsi sprints off into another room, and he says, "I'll be just a minute," as he goes. And suddenly you see that you are alone in this courtyard, besides for the party that came with you. And you sense you have a moment to look around and take in the surroundings.
I'd like to investigate that elven woman in the fountain.
Roll religion.
Okay.
This is a statue or an actual woman just chilling in the
A
fountain?
statue.
Okay.
Okay, I got a 16.
Looking on it, you recognize the figure immediately as Avandra, who is the elven goddess of change. Her figure is often used in government buildings, especially in government spaces in Edisfae, a country that prides itself on its strive for democracy and for progress. And Avandra is seen in many parts as the patron of democracy and of a progressive nation and ever-changing times.
Should I just, I'm just gonna kind of nod, like content with myself for knowing this.
You see that upstairs, from back further into the balcony area than you can see, but you hear doors opening and you hear a clamoring, excited, and somewhat rushed conversation growing closer and closer to the edge of the balcony, until finally you can see that the face of Yorsi between the banisters and an elven woman towering well over the halfling boy are standing at the edge of the courtyard woman. And the halfling, from just over the banister, as he sort of reaches up and pulls himself over, he says, "Honored guests, I present Lord Mayor Netheria." And Netheria sort of swats at him and says, "Stop it, enough with this." and she comes to a set of stairs and proceeds down the stairs into the courtyard level where you are. Hosh, tell me this is about the explosion at the tavern last night. I haven't been able to sleep at all, knowing that you said that it's possible that the VFN and the Royalists are beginning a scrap in our town.
Well, it looks that might possibly be the case, but I hate to say it. It seems like we have even worse news coming from Alan and Feliadril. I'll leave it to them. Feliadril, not really knowing what's yet fully going on, recedes back and motions to Alan.
I think Belwyn, just in kind of in all the slowness of the talking, he just speaks up in his turtle voice and says, "We have much bigger problems than your elven woman. We have darkness below your city that can overtake the whole world. You need to assemble your armies, or else it will be destruction for all."
Alan seems reassured that you have taken the lead on describing this. He seems quite defeated and deflated by his experiences. He urges you. He says, "Belwyn, please explain what we saw down there. They need to know the details to understand what's at stake."
My memories are still foggy
Roll perception.
from my sleep, but I do remember a great war my people once fought. I got a 14.
So you explain that it was these visions, these shared visions and dreams that alerted the church staff and that brought them to you to help, and that those same visions permeated into your dreams when you slept in the church, and that research led the church to find the hidden passageway, and that your exploration devolved information that there was some sort of rituals going on in these spaces, and that you found this black tome and this magical cloak and a shifting magical orb of some mysterious power, and that this visions of towers and the tapestries that show the same things seem to be objects of worship to these people who clearly are invested in finding something deeper within these dark spaces of the world. But what that is specifically and what this tower symbolizes seems mysterious and unknown to you at this time.
Does Maximon still have that circle ball?
Yes, he does. He also has the book and the cloak.
Oh, okay.
Everything. Wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. Remind me about the book.
So the book was
the journal of was in the room with the dead bodies that we found, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
The book is written in some script that Maximon was unable to decipher at all. It's some mysterious and unknown script to him, but it appeared to have been printed rather than written. So it seems to be some sort of text that is at least one copy of, if not more.
Yo, Maximon, do you want to maybe get these items out and show it to the people to see if anyone else knows what's up, or are you trying to keep them to yourself?
I'm thinking about it. Yes. So the orb, I'm really protective over. So right, that's the one that I had the psychic connection with.
Yeah, you felt this almost, not to sound too diabolical, but almost this sort of parasitic connection. Like the moment it entered your possession, you feel that it is almost physically a part of you, and that anything that happens to this orb will in some way affect you.
Yeah. So I take out. I'm kind of hiding the orb, just kind of keeping it very close to me, greedily, and I hand them the book. And ashamed, but understanding that this could be a learning experience. I couldn't read this. Do you know somebody who can?
Netheria says, well, maybe my studies will have been of help. I have lived a long life. And she takes the book and she opens it. And the minute she opens it, you notice that her eyes glaze back in the back of her head and they go perfectly milky white, but she doesn't seem to react in any other way. In fact, she seems shocked, but not in a violent or alarming way, just in a sense that she's shocked by what she's seeing. And she suddenly closes the book and her eyes go back to normal. This book was under the church.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's written in Espruar. Do any of you know what Espruar is?
I don't know. Do we?
You can roll history if you'd like to see if you do.
Cal has never heard of Espruar. For sure,
I got
there's no way.
a
Bell one
14.
definitely. I got a 2, so no way.
So none of you have heard of Espruar before. Etheria goes, Espruar was our mortal mind's attempts at putting deep speech into writing. This is the dark and quite powerful language of creatures from another realm, another plane. Deep speech is not meant to be heard by human ears, and some say it cannot even be physically heard by our mortal ears. But many scholars of ill intent found a way to transfer it into this written form. And those who know how to decipher it read more into it as an experience than they do as one would read a book. I can tell you some of what I saw in this tome, but I dare not read more, for it was too horrible.
So that's what you just did? I'm
Hmm.
asking, I guess, because I'm like curious about the magic. So like when your eyes just rolled back in your head, you were experientially reading this book?
Yes,
Mm.
I long ago studied at the Svidnian Academy of Arcana. Oh,
And they just teach you
many
this stuff
lifetimes
there?
ago. No, they expressly forbade it, for it's quite powerful and quite dangerous.
So then how
Or
do
the-
you know about it? You can see that I'm getting pretty like suspicious because I don't trust deep magic.
I spent many a year experimenting and researching the power of deep speech to connect many beings across time and planes and dimensions. And it helped save many lives, including the lives of people I loved who I thought had been lost to fates worse than death. But I do regret it, for when you're lost beyond the grasp of this plane, you never fully come back, even when your body re-enters this realm.
I guess does Cal seem convinced by this or nah? I guess that's for me to decide. Yeah, okay. All right. Cal doesn't really understand what they said, but he's just gonna go with it. He'll be like, okay.
I'm sorry I cannot explain it to you further, but the memories give me too much pain, and I can tell you what I saw in this book if it will help us figure out the threat that we face.
Cool. I guess I just say to Belwyn, I'm like, do you trust him? Do you trust this guy or whatever? I'm just checking in with the magic portal.
Netheria is a woman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Guy is a genderless term.
Dudes, this dude.
I do not know what to think, but I fear that this language relates back to the darkness my people fought long ago.
Long ago? How long ago?
I don't know how long I've been asleep, but it was long before now.
Do you remember who the ruler was? Do you remember the names of nations from when you last were awoke?
There were no nations.
Hmm.
Only nature and fae magics and elvish and other kind living in harmony. None
It's before Columbus came.
Can I ask if she knows anyone like this creature?
I've read ancient tomes of the aquatic races, but they were supposed to have vanished nearly 1,500 years ago, when the first humans and elves and orc and dwarves first ventured into the lands of Eidisfey and made the first settlements, when the first elves arrived on the shores from Sudisfey. Everyone thought that the aquatic races were partially a myth or a legend, taught and sent down generations by the founding stories. Kind of.
Okay, so aquatic
boogeyman.
races, we're talking like underwater creatures, or is this a different word? Are you saying aquatic races?
Yes. Turtles. Look at the Triton.
Oh, I see. Okay, I
So,
feel you. Although
are you-
tortoises are reptiles, right? They're not amphibians, or are they? Amphibians?
Roll.
Do you remember that movie
roll
Over the
nature
Hedge?
Roll nature if you want to determine if Belwyn is amphibious.
Oh
or
yeah,
reptile.
dude, I'm like a survivalist. I should know this actually. Hold on, this is a calendar.
You have a -1 modifier on nature.
I do. Wait, how? I'm a survivalist, right? Isn't that my background?
It's probably because you have a -1 intelligence.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cal is man, might as well just swang my dick out again. Okay. All right.
Sounds like you're more Bear Grylls than Les Stroud.
Okay, I got 12 -1, so 11.
Yeah, you stare at Belwyn, and you poke in a hole, and you go, I think I might have found a gill. And Belwyn recoils and says, you found my ear.
Jeez, I am a dick. Sorry.
So, are you telling me then I am all alone? All of my people are gone?
As far as the official texts written and inscribed in Zeracaris and Feyeen and accepted across all the kingdoms and their capitals and their realms of study, the aquatic races have never been seen in these lands for at least an eon and a half.
I think Belwyn kind of becomes a sad turtle a little bit after hearing all this.
Netheria senses your sudden sadness and goes, but you are proof that we are wrong. You are living, breathing proof that all those books, all of the study, all of the archaeology is potentially wrong. It is your duty as a paladin, good sir, as a knight, to find your people, for they may be in grave danger, as you say that we are as well.
Yes. It does not feel as though I am all alone. I don't think my people can be fought off so easily.
Alan finally seems to pipe up a bit from his sort of more sullen and sad silence, and he says, Belwyn, you said down there that it seemed that you have seen this organization, nay, I should call it this cult before. That would mean that they're ancient, that they're older than the nation of Eidisfey.
Yes, their ties could be deeper than we know.
Spooky dooky.
There's a sudden uncomfortable silence among everyone in the room. Piercing this silence, shattering it like a glass. A guard bursts through the front door, sweating and nervous. He's nervously looking around, and he locks eyes with Netheria, and he says, Lord Mayor, We have a situation out front. Everybody huddles out the door, the double door to this estate, and back out to the long pathway that you came down. Outside, you see that a group of humans have gathered. You see before you 4 men and 2 women. Many of them appear quite inebriated. They are very clearly angry, and all of them are hastily armed and armored, wearing scraps of leather or chainmail or bits and bobs of padding and whatnot. Many carry clubs and mauls and instruments of blunt force of some kind. One of the women holds a crossbow, and a large man, muscled and athletic and lean, but quite hard-looking, who appears to be at the front of this group. He holds a long sword. You can see that the edge of the blade is already dyed a crimson glimmer. On the ground in front of him, kneeling, clutching their side and with a hand on the ground, is the elven guard who let you into the building. A long slash runs across his side, and he bleeds quite heavily into the dirt. Netheria is quite taken back, but addresses the man directly. Asher, what is the meaning of this? The man responds, quite slurringly and angrily.
We heard that Gerard just passed. Not too long ago now. This morn, he was talking to us, telling us about these suspicious outsiders who came to the tavern right before it got blown to hell. Said they was starting a ruckus with Brodan and Fevo. Haladas bless 'em. Now we hearing about the elf priest sleeping 'em in our church, and the elf mayor welcoming them into our manor. For all we know, it looks like they'll be the ones who killed our boys.
Netheria clenches her fist, but her face betrays no panic, no fear. She remains calm. These are our guests, and we were fortunate enough to have them in our town, and they were unfortunate enough to be caught in the blast themselves as victims. They suffered grievous wounds, and they helped stabilize Gerard in his moment of most need. While it pains me to know that he is past, the good priests have given them their care and their refuge. Hosh informs me that it was an elven woman, a stranger, who may be the culprit of this tragic crime. This is not how we treat guests in Lysylia, Asher. I would have hoped that a member of the town guard would have known better than that. Now end this debacle before anyone else gets hurt. I will forgive your frustrations, and I hope that Ionri will forgive the blow you have dealt him. She glances nervously at the young bleeding guard. He smiles very, very weakly, but he does seem to have a hopeful demeanor. It was just a playful tussle between colleagues, right, Asher? Asher fumes and kicks Ionri hard in the side where he's wounded, knocking him to the ground with a painful cry. There is a tense, thick atmosphere. You can feel the situation dissolving rapidly. The mob glances at each other, their fingers nervously moving on the hilts of their weapons, half nervous, half excited. You can see the bloodlust in their eyes. How do you proceed?
You know, I'd like to use thaumaturgy to create like a thunderclap, maybe scare them a little bit.
You can use thaumaturgy to amplify an intimidation roll.
You create an instantaneous sound that originates from a point of your choice within range, such as a rumble of thunder.
I mean, yeah, sure. I'll still let you roll it as.
Yeah, I should probably roll for intimidation. Yeah. Oh, I get to roll too? Nice.
So it's advantage. What advantage means is you roll twice and you choose the higher number.
Okay, I got a 17 on that second one.
So this thunder booms and crackles. Most of the members of the mob jump and they're startled. But you notice Asher reacts with lightning precision. He's clearly trained. He knows how to react in combat. He swiftly raises his longsword and in one motion drives it straight through the head of Ionri, killing him instantly. The woman with the crossbow, seeing this sudden burst of violence, fumbly
raises her crossbow and looses a bolt. It sails past Maximon's head, but you hear it bite into the leg of Netheria behind you, and she screams in pain. 2 guards swoop and grab her and pull her back into the manor. Just as they are about to slam the door, Alan grabs Feliadril and throws him back inside, and the doors are slammed shut. You hear them lock, and you hear furniture being barricaded behind them. You are locked outside. Alan and Hosh both unsheathe their weapons. I would like everyone to roll initiative.
Whoa.
Oh, I had a 17.
I've got a 5.
I got an unnatural 1. I rolled a 3, but it's -2.
So you're at 1. Sorry, you got a 5, you said, Cal?
Yeah, I got a 5.
How many villagers are there?
You're currently looking at Asher, the leader, 2 with crossbows, and 3 with assorted club-like weapons.
And we still have not had a rest of any kind, right? So I am out of slots for my rages. I can't rage anymore until I've rested.
So leaping, surprisingly deftly, and just light on his feet, Hosh, unsheathing this massive battle axe, just leaps and bounds about 20 feet out to the closest bandit, a young-looking, kind of scrawny man with a unkempt ponytail, and with this massive battle axe, just takes a large swing at him. But he really doesn't quite get his feet set under him well enough. As he pulls the axe back to take the swing, he misjudges his footing and loses balance and falls onto his back with his belly just up into the sky right in front of this bandit that he was about to swing. And he is prone, laying on the ground in quite an unfortunate circumstance. The second bandit with a crossbow, not the female who shot at Netheria, but a male who holds a small hand crossbow, moves just off the path and circles around the outside of one of the thicker looking trees and lines up a shot on Hosh. He has advantage on him as he's laying on the ground. He makes an easy target, though he is small. The bolt hits the shoulder of his thick armor plate and just ricochets off, despite the fact that he is laying in the dirt. His armor certainly helps him in this precarious situation. Maximon, how do you move?
I love my chill touch, so I'm going to try to do the chill touch skeleton hand on Asher.
What's the range on that, Gil?
120 feet.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
A 14.
Roll damage.
All right, let's go for it. All right, I got a 5.
His skeletal hand grips onto the sort of scruff of Asher's shoulder and digs under one of the leather pauldrons that he's wearing covering his shoulder and pushes into the joint where his chest meets his shoulder, and you see the thumb dig in and you see blood start to seep from between the leather pads. And Asher angrily yells out. He seems to be almost more angry than in pain.
Dang.
A bandit, a sort of portly looking man who seems very, very inebriated, the most drunk of the bunch, and he's got a dirty, unkempt beard. He waltzes over to the dwarf laying on his belly, and he takes a swing with his club, and he actually just manages in his drunkenness to line it up perfectly with the exposed back of the neck with it, where Hosh's armor plates meet each other, and his hit makes purchase. Oh, and he strikes for 4 damage against Hosh. Quite a harsh blow to the back of the neck for our captain of the guard. It is now Alan's turn. Alan moves towards Hosh, sensing that he is in danger. He moves closer to him
and with his free left hand, he summons his spiritual weapon, the mace that he used in the crypts, and he sends it flying out towards the bearded, drunken bandit with the gross, unkempt beard, standing over Hosh with his little club. He sends it out towards him, and he strikes true. As the mace flies through the air, Alan seems to expend some kind of magical energy. The magic energy emanating from this mace as it zooms through the air, connecting with the midsection of this drunken blob of a bandit. He liquefies the instant it connects with him, instantly explodes into a disgusting shower of just blood and gore flying in the air. The magical energy behind this mace as it soars through the air, causing him to quite literally splatter on impact.
Jeez. Some priest splattering the people of the town he preaches to. Gosh. Brutal.
The woman with the crossbow who shot the Lord Mayor, she moves to the corner of a building that is next to the estate house. Right beyond the one of the edges of the trees, you see a little barracks-looking building, and she moves to just beyond the porch of it, and she kneels below the porch, and you can see that she's struggling with the crossbow. It appears as if her shot getting it into the Lord Mayor's leg was pure luck. It doesn't even appear as if she knows how to reload the crossbow. She's struggling with the mechanism to get the string back into the nock, and you notice that her panic is quickly devolving into a sort of fear, and she starts to cry sort of frantic tears, and she seems to be locked in position, not necessarily knowing what to do with herself. She's just cowering behind this little barricade that the deck offers. A female bandit who holds a mace. You can see it's much finer than the club that the gross bearded bandit who exploded was wielding. This mace actually seems to be forged and made by a smith who was making weapons for war. It seems a little bit finer. She comes bolting straight ahead, looking at Maximon, realizing that he's casting this magical energy that is latched itself onto Asher, and she swings this mace at him quite heavily. But unfortunately, Maximon ducks under, and the mace sails over his head. But you can tell that she swings it with quite acuity. She seems to have a thing or two. If that mace had connected, you could tell that it would have done a bit of damage to our elven hero. Our final bandit makes his move. The ponytailed younger man who wields just a standard short sword. It doesn't look anything fancy. It seems like something that would be given to a boy on his 16th birthday or something like that. Something to play with and hack at trees with. But it could still hurt if it collides. He comes up on Hosh, who is still laying on the ground. He doesn't really seem to have any tactical knowledge, but he understands an opponent lying on the ground when he sees one, and he swings at the dwarven captain, taking out some sort of rage. But in his rage and his swings, they just collide with plate and ground and dust, and you see dirt and pieces of rock coming up with his swings. But the dwarven captain has now moved his heavily plated gauntlets over the back of his neck and is put himself into a sort of ball to protect any vital areas. He learned his lesson from the bearded bandit striking him in the back, and now he's sort of curled into almost an armadillo-like ball. And finally, we have Asher, the menacing and quite adept former guardsman who walks up to Alan, up to the priest, sensing that his magical mace just dusted one of his buddies, and he does not want to have that weaponry on the field for too long. He swings at the priest with his longsword, making connection with our priest friend, and he deals 5 damage, slashing our priest and his upper thigh. You see the robe splits and you see blood seeps down the leg. Alan was already hurt previously from the dungeon, and he didn't have time to heal himself. You can tell he's taking some significant damage here, and he doesn't look to be doing too well, but he still seems strong enough to fight. At least he seems to be keeping the resolve to fight. Cal, it is now your turn.
Okay, so I need a quick refresher. These people we're fighting, they're townsfolk that are like rioting, or they're banned, like they're not from the town and they're being
from the
aggressive
town.
against the guard.
Yeah, they're from the town. They're sick of the elf being in charge, and they're sick of,
Okay, yeah. So these are like the
getting blown
racist.
up.
These are like the racist dudes that pulled the dragon we were talking to and all that kind of stuff. Or they're at least like sympathetic with that. Like they're like the racist people that were yelling at us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. In that case, Cal is gonna run to the aid of the dwarf captain, try to get some redemption in his eyes after pantsing himself, trying to salute.
Standing near him is the ponytailed figure with the short sword.
Yeah, he's toast. Okay, cool. So I get my lance and I charge that guy, and I'm gonna do a my new ability, reckless attack. Here it is. I'm doing it. I'm doing a reckless attack. So I get advantage on melee weapon attacks using strength this turn, but people back against me also get advantage.
Roll those attack rolls.
So I got a 19.
All right, that hits. Roll damage.
My damage is 10 with piercing.
You literally pierced right through his side, and this young and quite inexperienced ruffian takes it all into the gut, and he drops to his knee. He's not quite dead, but he is completely in shock. His eyes are wide and white, and as you pull the javelin out, you pull out a little bit of innards with it, and he's just holding his gut, trying to hold himself inside of himself, just staring at this wound you've just dealt him. Clearly, his demeanor has gone from wanting to prove himself to immediately regretting every decision he made leading him up to this point, and he sits on his knees just holding his gut, dropped his sword, and is just completely wide-eyed and shocked at what just happened. And with that, it is Belwyn's turn.
So we're up on the stairs, right, or something like that?
And so the crowd is kind of gathered about 20-ish feet out in front of you, but some of them dispersed. Like one went around a tree and is sort of using a tree as cover. One woman ran off, is hiding.
We're fighting the whole crowd, or just some like extra bad ruffians in the front?
Yeah, so you've killed one, but there's 2 with crossbows, but one of the woman
got it.
crossbow.
But by crowd, you mean the people you described earlier, like
yes, exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay, cool. Just trying to keep track of the battlefield or whatever.
Belwyn just kind of says out loud to, I guess, whoever's around, he's like, this petty battle of people does not concern me. And he just takes a seat on the steps.
Okay.
And that's his turn.
All right. And with that, Tosh gets up off the ground and he looks over at Belwyn, who he thought was a worthy warrior. It gives you this shot of just pure contempt, and he spits on the ground in your direction. and he picks up his great axe and he goes charging towards this boy on his knees, making a large swing with his great axe. He rolls a critical hit, and with one clean swing of the great axe, just a perfectly circular motion, just takes the boy's head off in one smooth motion. Quite shockingly, like this boy basically looks like he's maybe 18, 19 at the oldest, and clearly had dropped his weapon, had put his hands on his gut where he was pretty certainly mortally wounded. Hosh just takes his head off, and as the head drops to the ground, he looks back at Belwyn and just gives him another snarl of his teeth, almost saying, like, you know, how dare you not fight for us?
Wait, is this the dwarf like leader?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, dang. Okay.
And now the male who ran around the tree to get a better angle on Hosh as he lay prone with his crossbow has reloaded another bolt. He has a quite easy target with Belwyn sitting on the stairs, not really moving, not making any motion to block himself. And he takes aim. He takes a shot at Belwyn. His aim is not very good, and it thuds hard into the wood just over his head. He seems quite angry at himself that he couldn't even hit a stationary target. Does Belwyn react?
No, Belwyn's just kind of sitting there, chilling, head down, you know, just thinking.
And it is Maximon's turn now. Maximon, I believe is it on your turn the subject takes more damage if your concentration hasn't been broken, or is it on the subject's turn?
It's on my turn, but
Okay.
my concentration's broke.
It was? Were you hit?
No, that woman like almost took my head off, but I
Yeah,
was able
no.
to...
If you don't get hit, your concentration is still maintained.
I'm gonna murder this woman.
Okay, but you still also have concentration on that spell, so I'll let you can make an action to attack her. If you attack her with a spell, your concentration breaks on the spell that's currently on Asher. But if you maintain if you use a weapon, like a physical weapon or some other like, you know, improvised action to attack her, you can also roll damage on that spell again to do more damage to Asher.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that. I'll take you up on that. I mean, I do have a mace on me. Yeah, I'm pissed. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna take a little swing at this person who so dared to get within my range. And I got a 14.
Yeah, that hits. Roll damage.
Okay, let's go. And I got a 5 minus 1, so 4.
How do you get -1 on damage?
Because my mace, I have -1.
His strength is probably -1.
Oh.
I think it's a strength thing.
Okay. So you do 4 to the woman who swung at you. She takes quite a heavy hit right to the sternum. You just crunch, and she doesn't have any leather padding or anything there on the chest. She's got it kind of on her shoulders and her knees and some on her arms like bracers. So she takes the full swing of that mace right to the chest, and it really knocks the wind out of her, and she sort of staggers back. And if you'd like to roll damage on your skeletal hand gripping Asher again.
Yeah, let's go for it. Oh my god, I just got a 7.
Wow. That skeletal hand digs in from the front and the back, and you can actually hear popping and breaking as the hand starts to tear through ligaments and tendons in that shoulder and starts to snap and crack some of those bones. And Asher's left hand the whole left arm just starts to go numb with pain and is almost like totally useless at this point as he tries to rip the skeletal hand off with his other arm, and he's got his sword in his teeth trying to do it, but he just can't seem to get the skeleton hand to move as it continues to tear into his arm. And he takes some pretty heavy damage from that skeletal hand.
What a pleasure. I'm loving life. Oh my gosh.
Alan, seeing Hosh's brutality in showing no mercy to this young boy, even though he just moments ago killed a man, he at the very least feels in his heart that he as a priest, it's in his duty to show mercy. He sees that Belwyn is choosing the route of pacifism and potentially ending this fight through other means other than death and weapons. Also chooses to take a knee where he stands and expose himself to any attacks that may come. He puts his mace back in its sheath, and his material holy mace turns into effervescent dust. and he kneels in place and bows his head down, sort of in solidarity with Belwyn's commitment to pacifism. This frustrates Hosh to no end. He clenches his teeth and gargles like spit comes out of the sides of his beard. And he, is looking even almost more angry at his own compatriots and allies than he is at the bandits and the racists who call him out and attacked his Lord Mayor. And with that, the woman cowering behind the deck seems to have finally gotten the crossbow bolt and the string into its nock. She raises again her crossbow and takes aim, this time at Alan. And her aim is true. She manages to loose the bolt, sending it for the priest, who kneels on the ground, exposing himself to any and all coming damage. Oh, and she deals 6 damage to the priest. It strikes him in the side, biting deep through his robes and deep into his midsection. You can see he's bleeding heavily from the cut on his leg and from the bolt piercing his side. He really has taken significant damage between the caverns and now here, and it seems that his show of compassion may be the end of him. And it is now the female bandit's turn. She turns her gaze on Maximon again as he has now stricken her with his mace, and she swings her mace back at him. But again, he predicts the path of her mace and sidesteps it as her mace comes crashing down into the dirt quite forcefully, sending bits of dust and particles into the air, but making no contact with Maximon. Finally, it is Asher's turn as he takes heavy damage from Maximon's spell. He, seeing his opportunity to strike at the priest, walks over to Alan and with his greatsword makes one great swing, connecting with the priest again.
Oh no, I kind of like this guy. We went on an adventure with him. He can't die.
He deals 4 damage to our priest, stabbing into his shoulder. You see the edge of the blade pop out from behind his left shoulder from where you sit, Belwyn. You see Alan falls onto his back. He looks especially weak. He looks older than he ever has before as blood drips from his shoulder. It drips from his leg, and it drips from his side, the bolt in his side. But he looks up at Asher, and he says, "They will forgive you if you stop, son. They will forgive you if you stop. I will forgive you if you stop." He seems committed to his path of non-violence, even if it means his life. Asher twists the sword in his wound. He seems committed to this warpath. He seems committed to death and blood.